Cool. So you want me to go out and come in?
Yeah, do you want do you want to put your coat back on to make this thing authentic or what?
Hey, Jess.
Yo, what's
up?
Good to see you. Good to see you, man. Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate
of course.
it.
Thanks for coming by. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, come on in. Have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. All right, we are here for our second episode of our Comfortscast Origin Stories with my dear sweet friend, Sunny Johnson-Lemieux. Thank you for joining us today, Sunny.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Appreciate you coming by for sure. So you and I, we've known each other for, when did we meet? We met in a unique way.
That's true.
You and I met through yoga.
That's right.
We met at a yoga retreat in Vanderbilt, Michigan called Song of the Morning. What year were you going through your training there?
I went through GLIDA in 2021, but it was 2018 when I started coming regularly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's about when we met. I had gone through the training myself in 2017. Upon my return from LA, I was back home and went through it. And it was through yoga that I started learning more about you. Found out you're an incredibly talented artist. You are a DJ.
True.
You are a yoga teacher.
Yep.
What else?
I teach art at the Northville Art House. I teach figure drawing and portrait art.
Okay.
I do commissions. I do murals. I do logos. I also was a gardener for many years, so I have a green thumb for sure. And I have some management skills. I was on staff at Song of the Morning for a while, so I do that helped me develop retreats and lectures. So I do some lecturing, and like I said, I lead some spiritual retreats from time to time, and art retreats. And I'll actually be doing a yoga retreat in Wexford, Ireland in March.
Oh, yeah.
So going international.
Nice. So this is the segment that we're doing is titled Origin Stories. That's what I've settled on. When did you first start doing art? Like, what drew you to it? Was it like a natural born inclination?
What drew you to it?
Yeah. Yes, very good.
Yeah, as a natural inclination. I don't remember never ever not making art, you know. My parents were college students in Ann Arbor when I was growing up, so we didn't have a lot. And I was perfectly happy with a white piece of paper and some crayons. I remember being 4 or 5 years old, drawing monsters and things like that. I always loved coloring books and things like that, and I often turned things into coloring books that weren't actually coloring books, including the walls and things like that. So I very much had the artist inclination from my earliest memories before I even had any kind of tendency towards anything.
Are your parents artists, creatives in any way?
I mean, everybody's an artist in their own way.
Sure.
But no, okay. So my mom did like stitching and stuff like that when I was growing up, and embroidery, actually. Both my parents were kind of intellectual hippie types. And my dad had this cool brown leather coat that had this kind of psychedelic pattern embroidered on the back that my mom made. And my dad, who's French Canadian and very much into hunting and fishing and things like that, would make like beaver pelt hats and gloves and
nice.
Things you'd use in archery, like quivers or like your arm guards, and he'll emboss them with like bears or wolves and things like that. But I didn't actually witness my parents doing a lot of that. It wasn't the same, Those were like little hobby things for them, where I feel like somebody that really has the artist tendency, they're just always making art, whether they're getting paid or whether they feel like it or anything. It's just something that the people that are really into their thing, they're always doing it with or without encouragement.
Sure. And do you feel, so I mean, were there, outside of your parents, do you have other family members, relatives who are artists in any way?
Not really, actually, but I do have some artistic ancestors.
Okay.
I think it was either my great-great-grandfather in England, in Wales, actually, made the stained glass for the church. Don't know the church.
That's cool.
But that's what I was told growing up.
Yeah.
I was also told we were related to Van Dyck, the painter, who is would paint court paintings of the monarchs and things like that. I believe that was in the
Interesting.
Netherlands or something.
Yeah.
And then I was always told I was related to Bobby Burns or Robert Burns, the poet, who's like the most famous poet of Scotland. But I've told Scottish people this, and they always think I'm being absurd, so I don't know. But that's what Grandma always told me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. So, so you've always been a bit of a doodler, a bit of a drawer since as early as you can remember. Yeah. When do you feel like, do you feel like your parents helped nurture that and like encouraged you to continue on artistically? Was it just something you felt compelled kind of, internally to do? Or like, what do you think like brought you from like adolescence to actually, following through your timeline into actually pursuing really a professional career in art?
Yeah, it took a long time, actually. Like a lot of us, I think as young people, we may lack self-confidence. And my parents, I don't think they really encouraged me to be an artist as a profession, but they always liked my art, or were like, they were never like discouraging for sure. But I think it went over their heads. I think my parents were very young, and so like trying to get their own careers together when I was young, that perhaps some things went over their heads. But as like a Gen Xer growing up in the 80s, I just feel like we were all very much steeped in media and art and music. Music especially has been a profound influence on my art. And I always like kind of identified with the counterculture and rebelliousness of artists and the bohemian cultures of the world. And I think I was actually more encouraged by the world, but it took me a long time to like call myself an artist, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think it was a self-confidence thing. But at the same time, like, I originally went into photography school. I liked photography, but then I found out, this digital thing is happening. That discouraged me out of photography. So I went into graphic design because I felt like, well, I'm a creative person. But I think the fact that I went into graphic design originally showed that I didn't have full confidence as an artist.
Sure. Like,
I'm creative, but why didn't I go into fine art? I felt like maybe I was too worried about making money off of it, so I should do something a little more corporate.
Sure.
But it wasn't until later in my early 30s that I went back to school for fine arts, and I just kind of went for it. And it really took the 4 years of getting my bachelor's degree that when I came out on the other end, then I thought of myself as an artist. Perhaps I needed those letters or something after my name to get that.
Right.
And then I just really went for it.
Where did you go?
I went to Wayne State.
You went to Wayne State?
Yeah, I got a BFA from Wayne State in drawing, actually, and a minor in art history.
Okay.
And I got the art history degree by taking all the African art classes, so sacred and contemporary African arts. And that was very influential, too, on me as an artist.
Yeah, yeah. And so prior to that, you went to school for graphic design.
Right. I went to Washtenaw Community College and Oakland Community College for that. Yeah.
What jobs have you held down before you and I met each other? I mean, there's a big history there that I'm kind of curious about, just as like friends, and like, what that story is.
Yeah. Well, okay. When I had kids very young too, like my parents. I was 21 years old.
How many kids do you have?
I have two. Eden and Autumn. My son Eden is 25, and my daughter is 27 now.
Yeah.
And I'm 49, so do the math. I was very young when I had my children, and desperate times come from desperate measures, and it's very expensive to raise children, childcare, all that stuff. So when my kids were young, I started a organic gardening company. And that's basically what I did through my 20s. And that allowed me to set my own schedules. Being a business owner allowed me to make more money than like an hourly wage.
Yeah.
And be flexible with the kids' like school schedules and things like that. So like getting them back and forth to elementary school and things like that. I was able to be more flexible being a business owner. And I did that for a number of years. I was also a medical marijuana grower, licensed through the state for quite a few years. And that actually was helpful because, especially back when I was first doing it, 15 years ago or so, there's a lot of money to be made off of it. And that gave me the freedom to develop myself as an artist.
And That paid for the paint and the
sure
canvas
did.
and
The bills and everything.
Yeah.
So it did allow me to do that. But I phased that out because I just felt, especially once I got into my yoga community, I just didn't feel, even though I knew I was helping people and I was licensed, no black market stuff, it wasn't congruent with where I was at as a person. And so I had to phase that out and phase something back in. And then I don't know if you know Mo Charbonneau up north. She lives in the Song of the Morning community. Yeah. She does a lot of helping people to develop business plans. So she helped me to develop a business plan. And I did a lot of art shows, from like Dally in the Alley to the Christmas show at the Great Lakes Crossing. I did an art show at the Detroit Grand Prix on Belle Isle before. I've done lots and lots of art shows, and including I used to have a regular gig at the Cola Lounge in Farmington Hills, which is a Nigerian restaurant that would feature a lot of reggae artists, because I'm very much a reggae person. So I'd set up my booths at those. I did the Loving Touch here in Ferndale with HR from Bad Brains, and did a lot of like musical shows too. So really putting myself out there that way, and that made me some money, got me some notoriety, started bringing me in commissions. And then also, as I said, I also worked for a year on staff at Song of the Morning as their guest services coordinator, which really helped me to develop, as I was saying earlier, retreats and lectures, and it definitely refined me a bit.
Yeah.
And yoga teacher. I do yoga teaching from time to time.
Yeah, of course. So let's talk about music. So obviously, like, I have I don't play music. I have a background working in the music industry. I love music, big music fan. Definitely, something that has always inspired me. And, just, so from that standpoint, how long have you been DJing for?
Since about 2008.
Okay.
All vinyl records. It started off specifically just reggae because I was just obsessed.
Do you identify as a Rastafari? Like, I know you've lived in Jamaica.
Well, I've spent a lot of time there.
You spent a lot of time
I'm
there?
more like immersed in the Rasta culture of Detroit.
Yes.
Actually.
Oh, okay. Because I know that, you have some tremendous drawings from legendary reggae musicians like H.R. Bad Brains, and I know you got some Bob Marley. You have some Haile Selassie, which not a music artist, but a activist who is a Jamaican Rastafari.
Haile Selassie was the king of Ethiopia.
The king of Ethiopia. Thank you. Yes. Thank you for correcting me and telling me.
I could go on and on. I could do a whole hour-long interview on just that subject for sure. I don't like to label myself in any way, actually. Sure. I like to say I'm deeply influenced by Rastafari.
So what is it about the culture, I guess, then, that you really attracted you to it, to really identifying, obviously, these people and these artists and musicians, they speak to you in a way that, other, cultures, lifestyles, music maybe don't. I know you're into hip hop, and we've had conversations about music, and I know you've punk shows and everything in between. I
mean, reggae music, punk rock, and hip hop, they're very close. And actually, even like jam band music, like the Grateful Dead and stuff, those genres can kind of at the hub of that could be reggae, because you're not going very far from the Grateful Dead to Bob Marley. You're also not going very far from the Sex Pistols to Bob Marley. And you're actually not going very far from Wu-Tang Clan to Bob Marley, or any of I'm just simplifying by saying Bob Marley, but reggae is a very vast genre with many subgenres. And growing up in high school, I was very much into hip hop, and I graduated high school in 1994, so that was kind of an early time for white kids in the Detroit area to be really embracing the hip hop culture and the colors. And for me back then, I was a different kid. My parents, as I said, were hippie intellectuals. They raised me vegetarian. It kind of made me a little bit of a target, especially around here in the Detroit area, a very industrial place. There just wasn't a lot of other kids like me. So, I got picked on and things like that. I learned about bullying. I learned about standing up for myself. And originally hip hop really appealed to me, especially in the late 80s, early 90s, because it was very much about self-determination and lifting yourself up. And I really identified with the civil rights struggle. My parents were very much taught me, raised me in a very kind of left-leaning political justice kind of way.
And I think Ann Arbor is also a community that is, very submerged in that as well. Very,
true, especially back then.
Yeah.
And I was born in Ann Arbor and lived there until I was about 8 years old. My parents very much were like that kind of a culture, college town.
What were their professions, did you say?
My dad became a nurse anesthetist, and my mom was a social worker.
Okay.
Yeah. So, they were sensitive, spiritual types. My parents practiced transcendental meditation and Buddhism. And but my grandparents talked them into putting me into a Christian school. So I was raised around a lot of spirituality, around a lot of kind of civil rights mentality, social justice. And so, and then going through the things I did with being bullied a bit in school, I really identified with hip hop because I just felt like it was like it allowed me to find that strength and to believe in myself and to overcome adversity, and especially the music. Like I think about Public Enemy, and I think about some of the native tongues, like the Tribe Called Quest and the Jungle Brothers, De La Soul. Like that stuff was very cultural and very political, and I think it really helped to develop my my politics as a young person. And as it got into the 90s, the hip hop music really started to get more club oriented, as like Puff Daddy kind of came on the scene, 50 Cent and all that. And I just didn't identify with that. And in the late 90s, the reggae scene, the dancehall reggae scene was just amazing. And some of the artists like Sizzla and Anthony B and Luciano and Warrior King, those guys were like rasta, spiritual, and civil rights oriented. And it really fit me well. And at that same time period, I was also traveling on the road and going to rainbow gatherings and living with very little. And I met a lot of other kind of dreadlock, black and white people that were really embracing the Rasta culture. And boy, did I get sucked in really strong. But I have a very broad musical taste, but I for a long time, I really just loved the politics and spirituality. There are some problematic elements in it, but I will say for the most part, I find it very, very therapeutic, actually. And but things evolve, These days, I'm a little my tastes are a little different, but and I think that goes along with the way the reggae scene has gone. That it's also not quite what it used to be, but what is.
Right, for sure, for sure.